Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Doctor as he travels the Vortex and landed episode number 134. And I think Cyberman came about as Joan Rivers. It all starts with a few hip replacements and breast implants. Vanity's a killer. I'm Keith.
The unit formerly known as Sean has been upgraded. I am 62951.
And I'm Glenn.
Hello, 62591.
Hello.
919.
I don't know.
We lose count.
We'll call him 6 for short.
6. Old 60.
I like it.
How are you guys?
Good.
Recording a little late this week.
We are a little late.
My bad. Sorry, everybody.
Our apologies. Well,
You
did
don't
a lot
have
of
to apologize.
stuff. It's
just, we normally record
I
Sunday
liked your
nights.
comments of it makes us look lazy in comparison because it really does.
It was late Saturday night, and I knew we had a full day of stuff Sunday, and I had to work and everything, and I still had a final and a 6-page paper to write on top of the fact that I hadn't listened to the audio yet because of all the homework, and it was just like, I'm gonna vote we record late this week. So that was my week. I did a lot of studying for a final. I probably flunked. And did a lot of writing on this 6-page paper, which I did get turned in. And now I still have internship editing to complete, and then I'm done. So, yay!
And then, how long is winter break?
Not long enough. Was it January 14th? I think we go back.
You get nearly a month.
Yeah.
Almost a month, yeah.
That'll
So
be
pretty
nice.
good.
Working and Christmas.
Maybe we could make up for it and record 2 days early sometime during that stint.
Sure.
Here's a treat.
Let's record tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
You're not doing anything.
No, nothing going on.
So, my bad. Sorry to everybody.
No problem.
My week was relatively uneventful, except for the last 2 days at work. Keith's gone. We get all the breaking news, but I think the only
No correlation.
Yeah, the only eventful thing we did this week was we went to Disney on Ice. So Disney on
Did your kids
Ice.
like it?
They did, absolutely love it. Now, Caitlin and I had seen this particular show 2 years ago, so it's the same show.
Is it the same show?
But it
I
was
wondered.
just as fun and fantastic as it was before. And it's I watch movies several times, so seeing an Ice show 2 years or with separated by a year.
Yeah.
But it's really good. They do.
Did you guys go last
It's
year?
a lot of fun. No, they wasn't in town last
Oh,
year. It
was
was
it
2
not?
years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's when we went. So, and then they're doing. I guess they've got Disney Live that comes in February. So I'm hoping that we get some
different
tickets
too?
that work for that. Yeah.
What's the
But
difference?
we enjoyed that, and then it's really kind of a lazy weekend. We didn't do much, and then today was Caitlin's first band concert. They did a really nice job for 5th graders. So,
And what instrument is she playing?
she plays clarinet.
Ah,
That's what her dad played.
that's what I played
Is that right?
for 1 year.
I didn't play the clarinet.
Sean played the radio.
I'll have you know, mister. I played trumpet.
I actually played clarinet for most of my band
I
career.
was a cool band geek.
And then I
We should do a jam session.
I played
You don't wanna
tuba.
hear me
I played tuba for half a semester.
I played 4th grade. That was it. And then snare drum 5th grade.
I played guitar in high school.
I tried bass. Didn't quite go anywhere.
I watched Scott Pilgrim this week for my paper, and I'm totally ready to learn bass now. That's sad. Watching the bass battles, like, oh, I want to do that.
I play harmonica. I really do.
I play spoons.
Spoons.
I play Monopoly.
I play kazoo.
I play PlayStation.
I play Dead.
Sean wins.
Scott Pilgrim is one of the few things in this world that makes being a bass player cool.
I don't know. I would think Paul McCartney would be one of the few things in this world that would make
Him
me a
too.
bass player.
That's the
He's
coolest thing.
Yeah, it's the second. That's Scott Pilgrim is 2.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought you were going to rank that backwards, and I was going to come over this table.
No.
My dad went and saw
You guys went and saw a concert tonight.
Oh, yeah, we
about that.
We went to...
what reminded me is that you said your dad, and I saw the picture of you and your dad.
Let me tell this story
was that your dad's
first.
first selfie, by the way? Because
I took it.
Well,
so
I know,
does that still
but
count?
I mean,
but
yeah,
as far as I know.
Because it looked like it. He had the air of, this is the first time I've taken a selfie.
Well, since you brought that up, let me tell the story first then. So, my dad invited me to go see Mannheim Steamroller tonight. So I got off where I switched schedules and went off because my dad doesn't invite me to anything. So I was like, he doesn't, you know. It's like, so what, Pat couldn't go? No, she's busy. Okay, I'll go.
Oh.
Let me rewrite my schedule. So we went, and I, sitting there in the dark, and I turned around, we leaned in and took this picture. And then I tweeted it out. I said, waiting here, crammed in like sardines. Oh, man, it was packed and weird. The seats at TPAC are not comfortable.
I was noticing that the seats at Expo are really small, too.
They are tiny, narrow seats. And when you start to squeeze a bunch of people who have maybe partaken of too much Thanksgiving and Christmas turkey into one of those rows, it's like airline seating, trying to squeeze everybody in. So I'm sending this tweet before the show starts. And I said, hey, we're crammed in like sardines waiting for Mannheim Steamroller. Mannheim Steamroller tweeted me back.
Oh.
They were like, hey, yeah, it looks great. Hope you enjoy the show. And, of course, part of me is thinking, shouldn't you be on stage? Get off Twitter. Entertain me.
They have to do their last minute tweets before they hit the stage.
I wonder who handles the Mannheim Steamroller account. I'm sure it's not Chip Davis, but I'm kind of curious to see who would it be.
Just pretend it's Chip Davis.
I'm going to pretend
it's
Chip Davis.
Cooler.
Makes it cooler.
Chip Davis.
Because he wasn't there, so
Oh well.
He doesn't have to tour anymore. He sends minions out to do it for him. But we got a nice little video introduction from him. But it was a good show. It's actually you've heard me complain. It's retail, blah, 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 blah. I thought about it going to the thing tonight. I was like, so I'm going to go sit at TPAC. And then I got to those little seats. And I was like, here I am at TPAC in these tiny little seats. And I'm going to listen to Christmas music.
What
did you do?
After 8
you tweeted out something earlier in the week, or last week.
I got my village up. And it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, like Washburn, because they got the lights up there. And you jumped all over that. Going,
that was the one. That was the one you took. Yeah, that's the one it was. Yeah.
Do you know why?
You're a poser.
Because I
wasn't
not really
a Grinch.
I'm just a Grinch at work.
I think I commented. I commented on something you did too. I called you Ebenezer. Maybe it was you.
I think that was just in person.
Just in person. Well, yeah, I did call you Ebenezer and him the Grinch 2 weeks ago.
But so yeah, it's just work stuff. But it did put me more in the mood. Now
the Mannheim Steamroller.
The Mannheim Steamroller. Okay. Yeah. And now
we're only 3 weeks out now, or less than 3 weeks out now. So.
Just a note to the traveling Mannheim Steamroller.
Away from Black Friday.
Right.
You guys need to work on your playlist selection a little bit, because the first half of your show was all of the soft, sweet, melodic, and it was hot, and I was crammed in there with 10,000 people. And I was falling asleep. And I like Mannheim. I'm one of those guys, I genuinely like Mannheim Steamroller, and I like the music. And I was like, okay, wake up, applaud, yay. What's the next song? Na, 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 na. It's like, you are killing me, Smalls. The second half was all of the big, pump you up orchestral light show stuff. So that was kind of cool. But you guys need to mix that up just a little bit. But we had a good time at the concert.
On a high note.
My dad mentioned that he went and saw Rain when they came through at TPAC.
What's Rain?
Rain is apparently a Beatles tribute band.
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah.
I did too. I didn't know they were here until I happened to be driving past TPAC and saw the sign the day up.
I intended to go, and it just escaped me.
He said they were phenomenal. He said they dressed like the Beatles, they looked like the Beatles, they played like the Beatles, and they sounded like the Beatles.
Wow.
He said it was amazing. And he said the guy that does Paul played bass left-handed. And then when he came out to do yesterday, played guitar right. So he's apparently ambidextrous, which is just cool in and of itself. You can do that.
That's dedication to it.
I've heard that it's Beatlemania, which was the first touring show. I heard
not the Beatles, but an incredible simulation.
I heard it was Beatlemania, like to a much, much higher level. That they just.
I've heard Rain's phenomenal. Mm-hmm. He's like, you went. I was like, I wanted to go to that one. Pat could go to that one. Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to hijack there, but
I think I was done. I was going to ask Keith what he did, what he's currently doing, because I haven't seen him for 2 days. I haven't seen him for 4 days. I guess.
5-day weekend. Before that, we got the tree decorated. And
I said it before. I'll say it again on mic. It looks nice.
Thank you very much.
That's a very pretty tree.
Thank you.
It's kind of big.
It is a little big. I'll repeat this on mic this time. We can't fit all the presents underneath it, and we're not quite done shopping.
Buy smaller presents.
Might have to. We should have trimmed the bottom, like Glenn mentioned, but oh well.
I'm sorry, honey. I know you wanted a new car. Here's a pair of earrings. That's what I had to put under the tree. That should totally dictate your gift box.
How much room we have?
You should measure under the tree
it
and then
doesn't-
carry your ruler out to the store.
I can say this because I know my dad won't listen. Is we got my dad a shotgun case. And how do you wrap that?
So that it doesn't look like a shotgun case.
Yeah. And it's not a hard one. It's a soft one. So we were able to fold it in half and put it in a giant box.
Oh, that'll be surprising.
Yeah. So, watched Nightmare Before Christmas, getting in the Christmas spirits. As I mentioned, I think a couple weeks ago, Sarah was kind of humbuggish about Christmas. And we watched Muppet Christmas Carol. And that got her into the Christmas spirit.
Yay.
Yeah.
Much more so than Nightmare Before Christmas would.
Yeah, for her probably. Not for me, though. Other than that, been running around and Christmas shopping. That's pretty much what we've been doing. Went to Manhattan today to do some of it.
Oh, cool.
So maybe go
Road
to
trip.
Lawrence on Saturday to do more. That's pretty much the extent of it. Had the Clontarf Christmas party.
I saw pictures of that.
That was fun. We had
That
a
was
good time.
fun.
What were you so excited about?
I'll wait for news.
Okay.
Well, let's move into news.
Let's
then.
move into news.
Okay, I'm gonna
because I
jump into
really
this
didn't have
now.
anything else. It's
Sean gets to go first this
It's
week.
been nicely relaxed.
Wait.
And we taking him back to work.
Oh, yeah.
I've been saving it up for you. I just happened to see this on IO9, so it's coming from a relatively reliable source. There is apparently a new cybernetic implant that repairs brain damage. And of course, since that's what we're dealing with tonight, it's like, this is perfect. There's no effective way to treat and improve function for someone who suffers a traumatic brain injury, which 1.5 million Americans do, and 800,000 stroke victims. But a team of scientists from a Case Western Reserve University and the University of Kansas Medical Center have devised a solution that appears to work in rats. It's an implantable prosthesis called a brain-machine-brain interface that serves as a closed-loop microelectronic system. They lost me there for a little bit. And it basically records signals from one part of your brain, processes them in real time, and then linking the injury by stimulating a second part of the brain that has lost connectivity, and it bridges the gap, which facilitates repair. It's like, that's way cool.
I only have one thing to say to that.
What?
It begins.
I know.
Sean's a little too excited.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a good thing.
I've already upgraded, so. I'm sorry, Keith. This is our fourth Cyberman archive tonight, and the first one where they were legitimately cool.
Hey, that's not true.
Yeah, it is. And let's be honest, they didn't acquit themselves very well in the video episode. Anyway, I'm sorry. I thought that was
That's
really
really
cool.
neat.
Like University of Kansas. So when the robot apocalypse happens, start it here. Weren't we to blame for something else? Didn't we do that joke on a show previous?
Yeah, what was that?
I don't remember now.
Higgs Bison?
Go ahead, boson, yeah.
We're just at the center of all this cool stuff.
Huh.
We discussed that first, but we didn't blame Kansas for it.
No, but
Are you saying
just
we blame
saying that
Kansas?
We blamed Kansas that,
we
that
did.
something
Oh,
was going to
oh.
start here, but
well, wasn't it that episode of that Fifth Doctor audio that when he landed in Kansas and he actually bumped into Daleks, landed in a wheat field? It was a Dalek story.
maybe that was it.
Oh, yeah.
I vaguely
During the
remember that.
Dalek invasion?
Yeah.
That seems right.
Yeah, whatever. What's next on this?
They are making a 5-inch action figure of John Hurt. Not the 3.3 3/4, which is even more exciting.
That is even more exciting.
Comes with a sonic screwdriver, a moment, or the moment.
A moment.
Comes with a moment.
Comes with a moment.
And oddly, an 8th Doctor alternative head.
Yeah, which he's never in that outfit as the 8th Doctor, but
It's kind of weird.
whatever.
Give me a Night and the Doctor, 8th Doctor
Yeah.
action figure.
Yeah,
That's what I want.
with that outfit.
Yeah.
And a detachable Young
No,
John
Hurthead.
Hurthead. That's how it needed
They
to be
should
done.
have just
Go
they
find
should have
an
done. They,
old
should,
alien
they did
action
that
figure
backwards.
and-
They should have done the 8.5 Doctor with the
Replaceable Eccleston
Eccleston head.
Yeah.
And then McGann Night of the Doctor figure with a replaceable John Hurt head.
So,
Of course, if you could pop the John Hurt head
We
off of that
chose to
action
use
figure,
8.5 Doctor now. I'm still going with War Doctor, so
Okay,
just
War
so we're all clear.
we all know
You
who
can
we're
use
talking
whatever you
about.
want, but I just wanted to make sure that that was your
9-ish.
There's the War Doctor.
I'm
and
still
the
mad.
Shaka Doctor.
I'm still mad. Shaka Doctor didn't show up. I was so set that he was going to fix that, and that we were going to see it on the big screen. That Richard E. Grant was going to be there. We'd all be like, "Yay!" And we'd have been the only 3 people in the room that knew what was going on, because the rest of the David Tennant fangirls would be like, "Who's that guy?" But oh well.
All right.
I think they need to make sure they do a 5-inch 12th Doctor action figure too, because then you would, with this, then all of the Doctors will be available in 5-inch form, even if it's not the most.
I
common,
have heard they're going to do it
action.
along with this. They're doing it.
They need
Peter
to.
Capaldi, Doctor.
It's
It's just his eyes.
It's good. It won't be 500 inches though.
No,
It'll be
But
in
when the-
scale with the rest of.
when the rest of him comes out next year,
You can just pop
You just
right
put
on.
you put the eyes on. You already have the eyes.
A couple of Capaldi potato head. It's just this piece to start with.
What's next?
This is what happens when we record late.
Hey,
We
the
get
problem
silly.
is, I injured my back, so I'm on muscle relaxers, and so I have no energy. So that's my excuse.
That's okay. Keith and I will carry the show for you.
I might
Again.
be asleep by the end of the show. Just if we are over here to stop, just come over here and push the button. Okay.
I think I got a stick I can poke you with.
You know, I figure if I fell asleep on accident, I'd wake up at 4 a.m. You guys would still be recording.
Only if we didn't go 3 hours. We learned that lesson.
That's right. You can't do 3 hours.
You wake up, we'd be like, so anyway, we went and did this, and it was awesome. Hey, we should probably talk some Doctor Who tonight, huh?
Should we talk about Series 8 since we're already talking about Peter Capaldi?
Sure.
Yes. Will not be split.
It's all one chunk.
One chunk.
Starting in autumn 2014. At least 13 episodes.
Which is kind of a lie, because the Christmas special won't be part of it, so they're already breaking it in half anyway. So everybody's right.
Oh, you mean the one that... Yes, well,
The episode number 13
No.
will be the Christmas special.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
See, I'm making all of fandom happy. Everybody wins.
You know why I also...
Just this once. Everyone.
Just this once. Everybody wins.
You know why I also stand by the idea that he will get his own box set? 5 does not include a Christmas special.
I
Season
know
5.
he'll get his own box set.
But that's why the Matt's Christmas special won't
I
be
mean, Season
included.
5 doesn't have a Christmas
Season
special.
5 does not have a Christmas special.
Oh, that's right, because they put it at the front of
Because
Season 6.
Yeah. So,
That's right.
proof. Not proof, but establishment.
I don't know. We'll just wait and see.
Yeah, we will.
Some exciting news from here close at home.
About us.
Yeah.
About us.
You may remember a while back I was doing some radio work through Washburn and the AirBods radio network. And they have reformatted a bunch of stuff, but they've contacted us and would like to rerun us. And we said, okay. So if you haven't gotten your fill of listening to us, you can now listen to us on Washburn Radio, because they'll be starting with episode 1, which is a Christmas special, so it's kind of appropriate that it's happening at this time of year, and rolling forward from there. So all you Washburn students out there, woo! Go Bods!
Well, anybody can get to it.
Yeah, anybody can get,
Well,
get to
as
it
a-
for our
as-
feed
as a-
too.
as a
but-
broadcast, though, right? They
That's
won't-
just it. Is it'll be streaming audio as opposed to a download,
Yes.
yeah, I
and
assume
so that'll be cool for anybody that wants to tune in, doesn't want to wants to go back and listen to us, but don't necessarily want to download our episode and
You just know how long-winded we
eat
get,
up
right?
their
I warned him.
storage
Okay.
space.
And they're looking to fill time, so
They
we
do know that
really,
we have some 3.5-hour episodes.
they're looking to fill time, so we really fit the bill there.
Maybe the overnight hours, but hey.
Hey, it's all right.
Heavy early.
Everyone's got to start somewhere.
And then last but not least, I brought some news this week. Hulu Plus has added a plethora of classic Doctor Who. They started dropping sometime last week, slowly, and then they're up to, what did you say, 300 and...
Oh, I clicked
305,
away.
I think is what you said. Anyway,
Like
300 plus
309, I think.
episodes. 309, you might be right.
Oh, half hour.
300 plus
Yeah.
episodes,
Individual
not stories.
episodes. That's right. My brain
individual
was trying to wrap
episodes.
itself around the math on that.
So
but-
everything's up there that was previously available on Netflix and Amazon Prime. They've added more to that are not available on the other two platforms. So that's exciting.
309.
But we did find out tonight you do have to have a Hulu Plus account. That's the $8 a
Makes
month
it
account.
really tempting to sign up for Hulu Plus.
Yeah, that's
That might be my tipping point.
the nice thing about it is you don't have to worry about DVRs.
It's true.
I watch day after stuff too. That's how I catch up on all my shows, with the exception of a couple because CBS isn't on there. But it's worth it. Worth it.
Definitely is looking more like it. And
So,
James Corden's on a new Hulu original show,
yeah,
which I haven't seen anything about, but it's James Corden, so it
Something-
makes me want to give it a shot.
something men's. I can't remember what it's called, but it looks good.
Does it? I'm assuming you get ads.
Well, I've seen a ton of. I don't know why I can't remember what the name of the
Give me a second and I'll scroll
episode
down.
is. It's something men's
See it.
or.
Well, it was on the front page last time. Now it's not there.
Yeah, whatever.
Anyways, The Wrong Man's.
Man's, yeah, the
The
wrong,
Wrong
man's.
Man's.
I think they spelled that wrong.
Anyway, so that's pretty much it for news. So next up is
What? Oh, yes. I thought you were pointing at the things
no,
you
I was
gave me.
pointing at the goodies.
Brenda sent us some goodies.
Yay,
Hey, thank you, Brenda.
Chocolate advent calendars.
Super awesome.
And they're Doctor Who. They're not just any advent calendars.
They are Doctor Who advent calendars.
So we'll have to figure out how we're going to split these up. But
Sure, you
We haven't opened any up.
we haven't opened yet.
Let's open one.
So we'll at least open them and go through
Oh,
11
gosh.
pieces of chocolate.
So,
It's not in order.
oh, it's not in order. So here's one. We should leave
Can I
one.
have some unwrapping music?
We should leave one. We should leave one in box.
And
I'm
even-
sure after 20 years that won't smell bad.
I had a wonderful gentleman come into the store this week and attempt to sell some Star Trek merchandise. He had boxes and boxes and boxes of it, so we kind of went through and started looking. At the bottom of one of the boxes was a mason jar that was vacuum sealed that still had first contact chocolate bars in it.
You didn't buy that, did you?
No. Funny thing is, I had a set of those already. I'd ate the chocolate out of, but I still have the wrappers. Overall.
Well, the wrapper's okay to keep. I'm not sure you should keep anything with
Special Weapons Dalek is on the advent calendar. This is the best thing ever. I take it back. It's the second best thing ever because it's released by a company called Bon Bon Buddies. That's suddenly the best thing ever.
On the back, it asks if you can name all 11 doctors.
No, because they keep changing the numbering.
Here's the answers.
What?
Doctor, 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 doctor.
I'm sorry. One
It
of them
didn't say
is
the actors.
Professor.
I didn't say actor. It said doctor.
One of them is Professor.
Cool stuff.
So we're still opening our chocolate.
Yeah.
Oh. I took one.
One. What was it?
I don't know.
It looks like it's shaped like a Cyberman. Two is up here.
You
Two's
think
up
so?
here where I would have expected one to be.
I think it looks like something else.
The doors open backwards, too.
It's British.
Well, I mean, when
Their doors don't open backwards. It's British.
just, advent calendar, they're still normally designed this way, aren't they? If they would go left to, I don't know.
I don't know. I
Never
haven't had an
mind.
advent calendar in a very long time.
Number 3.
chocolate.
It's good chocolate.
Where is number 3?
It's good chocolate.
3, 3, 3. There's 3. Bam. It's a
It looks like a star.
star. It's that one from that Christmas episode that threatened Earth.
Runaway Bride.
Yeah, that one.
One of the Arachnos.
Oh,
Arachnos.
gross. There's a spider in the middle of it.
The Arachnos ship.
I'm teasing. I'm kidding.
Okay, we'll keep passing this around.
I'm
We gotta-
only
it
have
is-
one, and I'm already chocolated out.
It
We
is
gotta
good
get up
chocolate.
to 11.
Where are we at? I guess I could just take it times 3, right?
4, so you're 5.
There it is.
This is riveting radio.
It is riveting radio. Well, let's move on. We don't have anything else. I'm not sure what some of these are supposed to be. Is it a teapot, maybe?
I don't know if they're supposed to be shapes or just
they're supposed to be
random
shapes.
molds. Thank you, Brenda. It was very sweet of you.
Thank you, Brenda.
There's nothing on the back of the doors, is there? Like little tidbits.
I thought maybe there would be, but there is not.
Just chocolate.
It's just chocolate. And I am not going to complain.
It's pretty cool.
Absolutely not.
My bonbon buddies.
All right, feedback. First up is Holly. She writes, 10th Planet and Spare Parts. Hey guys, great last podcast. Rachel, loved your side trip about your experiences at Chicago TARDIS.
Yeah.
Glad you had such a great time. Like the pictures and video clips that you shared as well. On to the reviews. 10th Planet. For the first appearance ever of the Cybermen, this was a great story. Very interesting to see how they first started out and knowing now where they headed. The use of lights as weapons to begin with was chilling. Ben trying to be a BDH, big damn hero, to go in and save the day to allow the Doctor and Polly to escape was brave. Not the most well thought out plan. I'm glad the Doctor stopped him even though Ben's intentions were good. I almost get the feeling that the Doctor has run into the Cybermen or heard of rumblings before this story took place. The ending to this one with the Doctor regenerating for the first time had me tearing up. Maybe it's because of the Adventures in Time and Space docudrama that made it more emotional, but it's still a powerful scene with Ben and Polly not really even knowing what's going on, but realizing the Doctor's just in a spot of trouble. Spare parts. Very good audio. At the start, when Nyssa and the Doctor land, I could tell the Doctor had a pretty good idea where they were. I didn't want to say a word to Nyssa. I mentioned of the Cybermats without actually calling them that. Cheezers is quite the name for them. We get a mention of Adric and his sacrifice and how the Doctor and Nyssa really haven't had time to properly mourn for him. Nyssa's interactions with the Hartleys were good and moved the story along as well. Interesting that the gold leaf had no effect on the Cybermen that weren't completely processed. Was surprised that the Doctor was used as a template to make these brand of Cybermen. We get that you can change history or that you can... or can you? Conversation between Nyssa and the Doctor. The Professor is quickly learning that her children are not listening to a word she says. The story ends with a bit of a cliffhanger. I'll wrap that up here. Looking forward to hearing everyone's thoughts on these two Cybermen stories. Holly from Wisconsin.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you, Holly.
And you reminded me of something I meant to mention earlier. A huge thank you goes out to Rachel because she did a side trip episode for us where she talked about her Chicago TARDIS trip, and it was a lot of fun to listen to and very enjoyable.
And hopefully you all went and listened to it.
Yeah. Now that Chrissy's done one and Rachel's done one, I'm starting to see a maybe a Verity type spinoff.
Oh, I can see it.
Another Doctor Who.
Don't give them any ideas; they won't listen to us anymore. Our thousands of listeners will suddenly dwindle to like 2.
Speaking of Chrissy, she's next with feedback.
Chrissy writes, "Hello from the frozen tundra. Dear Vortex boys, let me tell you a little story. There once was a nice little librarian who loved Doctor Who. She had a pretty good life. She loved her job, she did things with her roommates and her family, and she took care of things around the house. But then she listened to her favorite podcast, and her 3 favorite podcasters started talking about a new Doctor Who game for the iPhone called Doctor Who Legacy. Intrigued, she downloaded it and started playing. And while the podcaster said it was just Doctor Who meets Bejeweled, this nice little librarian was instantly hooked and hasn't done much else, and all the free time she had once is now gone. So thanks you guys for ruining my life. Glenn will be pleased to know I finally unlocked Strax, so now I have all of Team Vastra in my lineup.
She asked me on Friday Night Who how to unlock Strax or get him to drop Strax, if there was some sort of strategy to it. And I told her I didn't know because I couldn't get it to drop either. So,
you play,
but I
and you
got
play,
it.
and you play.
Yeah,
and you play,
I got it the
play.
next morning after we had talked about it on Twitter. So
I haven't seen a certain method to any of the madness.
no, I haven't either.
Though I have to say, after all the terrible snowstorms I've had to deal with this week, it was nice to have something to take my mind off the snow and cold. Because the 2 stories you're reviewing certainly didn't do that. It's true that we're both snowy, cold episodes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to side trip here for a minute. So yeah, I kind of downloaded it, and my initial impression was, meh, and I know Glenn was all, oh man, it kind of sucks, and I hope I don't get bored of it. And I started playing, and Chrissy, I'm in the same boat. I can't stop playing. And apparently I've already passed Glenn and Keith on levels, and I've got more characters, and I just got River to drop, so I'm really excited. And yeah, I'm in the same boat. I can't stop playing it. It's kind of addictive.
Yeah, I'm pretty hooked myself. Even for pooping it last week.
Did you know that when you drag your little jewel, because you can go from one side of the board to the other, did you know that the pattern that you take it, you can affect all the jewels in the middle too?
Mm-hmm.
And
I've noticed that's on some of them.
Because they'll swipe around and change directions. So you could actually use one jewel to put 2 more, put
2
two
or
more
3 or 4
near each other, and then when you drop it, sometimes you'll get the combo for putting the other ones together.
Yeah. I've been strategery.
You also want to make sure that you don't drag across an area that you're trying to match up, because if you do, you'll push that jewel out of the way, and then when you drop it, you won't get anything because you've moved one jewel that you needed. So you have to go out and around sometimes your action in order to...
And then there's nothing worse than getting I screwed up and dropped it in the wrong place, and then the Weeping Angel goes, and attacks you because you didn't do anything right. So, yeah, been doing a lot of that.
So, sorry, I didn't mean to... Have you guys survived all the levels aside from the special Advent ones?
No.
You've been killed in some?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
The Weeping... I got all
I
the
haven't
way
gotten
up
far
to...
enough, obviously.
The Weeping Angels is where I first... Angels Take My Hands where I first couldn't... And then you can pay a crystal in order to start that level again where you're at pick right up where you left off with full power and everything. And I've spent through all the crystals that I've picked up now. And so now I have to go back and I have to start the level over every time that I do it, because you can't just join there in the middle.
Okay. So it does reach a point where it gets rather difficult.
Okay, so here's the deal. The first crystal that I blew, I was going along and everything was fine, and all of a sudden I just died. It was just like, whoop, dead. I was like, I had full energy and everything, what the hell, and I can't figure out this... So I hit replay and got my crystal and continued on. Yeah, it's a timed level. I didn't know that. Some of those surprise levels are timed, and there's a countdown clock. So I blew a crystal on a timed mission. And it dawned on me that the crystals, that's going to be the expensive thing that you don't drop very often, so you don't want to spend those. I'll replay. I don't care if I'm on the last level. I'll replay the whole thing if I die before I spend a crystal on that. So I've only blown one crystal, but I blew it on a stupid time. But yeah, I'm in the same boat. The Weeping Angels killed me.
You just have to restart the level anyway.
I
so
know.
You might as well use your crystals.
No, because
not on time. Don't get me wrong. Yeah.
No,
you're saying like
I'm saving them. I want. I'd rather.
Don't you use those also to upgrade the doctor and stuff?
I don't know what you use them for, but it's important and expensive.
It's one of the different effects that upgrades the doctor, I think.
I don't know what they are, but I guarantee you it's important and expensive, and you should hoard them.
We could use them so you can finish out a level. That's what I've been doing, so I can continue where I'm at. No. Because sometimes you'll be like right up to nearly killing them.
Like the giant Weeping Angel Statue of Liberty.
And then what happens if you go all the way back, then you have to do that entire level again, whereas if you spend a crystal, you can finish them off.
I know, but that's expensive, and they're important.
He's going to get to the end of the game and have like 30 crystals he never used.
Yes. I will be rich in crystals.
Of course, I'll have blown way past you because I'll be using the crystals for what they're used.
Well, see, I was in the same boat. The Weeping Angels killed me, and so I kept getting killed, and I was like, okay. So I went back to the beginning and replayed all the way through and beefed everybody else up.
You can also use the crystals to unlock people.
See, now that's a good reason to hold on to them.
Character roles, I don't know what that does. But there was something else that you can get them, use them for, because I haven't continued the level, and I am down to 1.
So you must have been using them as you've been going just somehow. Okay.
But
I'm assuming it's to level
They're
up.
the things that in the shop you actually pay real cash for, and having played Jurassic Park and Ghostbusters and all these other games that have come out for the apps, whatever you spend real money on is the one that doesn't drop much.
Yeah.
So...
Well, I don't know. I had like 15 by the time I finally had to drop one, so and I only played like 7 levels.
But now you're almost down to 1. Or you are
I am down to 1. I'm down to 0 now, so I'm having to just play through.
So yeah, I think our
But then
review,
I've gone back. Actually, that's not true because then I went back like you did and started playing other levels to bulk my people. I didn't just go straight through again, but to bulk my characters up and got a bunch. I didn't get a bunch. I got 3 in the process of doing that. So
It depends on the level, also.
different
levels drop.
You spend all yours, I'll hoard all mine, and we'll see who wins it. I think we have to re-review this game now and say.
Oh, I think so.
Thumbs
Well,
up.
last week was just a hey, here it is. And we hadn't played with it much, so we just did a review right in the middle of Chrissy's feedback.
Yeah, there you go, Chrissy. Hope that helps. And no, I don't think there's any special way to get Strax to drop other than just
She's probably
keep playing it.
yelling at her MP3 player now.
I know,
because she's probably further along than any of us because she's been stranded snowed in, and she's probably has answers to everything that we've postulated there going on. I wonder if this means this. I wonder if this means this.
What do you mean you're only on that?
Newbie.
Anyway, here are my...
But, okay, sorry, tangent again.
Well, now at least we're warning people that we're going to tangent.
I think we talked about it on...
No, we don't do that here.
On Mike. I am officially amateur, and it was because my companions left.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah.
Did you actually go back and research that, or did somebody hint?
No, I went back and re-listened to it.
There you go.
There you go.
Companions left.
Newbie made me think of it. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So you're an amateur now.
I am currently an amateur.
So it was newbie, novice, amateur.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to work on one for Christmas.
Padawan.
I don't think that warrants knighthood.
You've been knighted.
No, knight level.
No.
I'm still in the Padawan level.
All right.
Whatever. Anyway, here are my reviews for your Cybermen archive this week. The 10th Planet. There's a neat bit of symmetry here, and I realized it during Friday Night Who. It's generally accepted that the very first episode of An Unearthly Child is a brilliant piece of television, and the last 3 episodes aren't that great. Well, the first 3 episodes of The 10th Planet are boring at best, but the 4th episode is actually quite good. So at least William Hartnell started and ended on good episodes. Really, I spent the first 3 episodes of the story being annoyed on behalf of the Doctor, Ben and Polly, because they didn't have much to do with the story. Instead, the story focused on these stupid guys on the base that I didn't give a crap about, and nobody ever gave me a reason to. Earlier this year, I read the novel 10 Little Aliens, which I hated with every inch of my soul. It's a first Doctor story with Ben and Polly, but it could have been anybody. Indeed, it didn't even have to be a Doctor Who story. It read like it could have been any hardcore sci-fi story with Dr. Ben and Polly shoehorned in there because they had to be. The other characters were just bad people. You didn't care about them. You didn't even want to care about them. There were more scenes without Team TARDIS than with them, and I just felt it was a throwaway story that didn't mean much. I can say much the same for the first 3 episodes of The 10th Planet. Now, I don't know if they got another writer to work on episode 4, or a script editor worked out some of the bugs, but that episode works so much better than the rest of the story does, and my DVD didn't come in time for me to see the animated episode, so I was stuck with the admittedly quite decent recon of Ep 4. Let's just take a moment to shake our fists in anger at the non-existent BBC archiving policy of 1966, or whenever they were wiping that stuff, for getting rid of the best episode of 10th Planet. Got the rage out? Okay, let's continue. In episode 4, the Cybermen come back to the action, Ben and Polly get to actually do something, and of course, we get the very first regeneration. Even listening to the audio, it seems like Hartnell was putting his all into those final scenes, selling the fact that though the Doctor had been weakened and was struggling, he was still the Doctor, still the core of the team, and things were going to be okay for the audience. And maybe I'm letting an adventure in space and time color my perception of this a little bit, but it's hard not to imagine what was going on behind the scenes of this story. Spare parts. I really love this story, not because it's a Cyberman origin story, but also for the story given to the 5th Doctor and Nyssa. I love that this story allows them to grieve over Adric's death, something that never really happened on TV, and that gives this story even more weight than it would have otherwise had, although admittedly, the Doctor facing the creation of one of his most terrible enemies holds plenty of weight on its own. Also, this is a great example of Big Finish giving Nyssa more backstory and character than she had on TV. She has some brilliant moments with the Hartley family, and when she's off on her own. And speaking of the Hartley family, this is how you do one-off characters that you care about. You get a great sense of what Mondas is normally like through Nyssa's interactions with Yvonne, Frank, and their dad. I don't think he got a first name, but that's no big deal. You also feel a connection with these characters, and you want to know what happens to them. Not to mention, you feel awful when you realize they're going to become Cybermen, and they'll probably end up terrorizing the universe. This story is a huge reason I think the Cybermen are scarier than the Daleks. The Daleks are just mutant blobs of alien hatred, even if they are kind of cute. But the Cybermen were human beings that made horrible decisions in the paths of advanced technology. Personally, I think I'd rather be shot and killed by a Dalek than be converted into a Cyberman. I'd rather not have either one. But if the choice was one or the other, give me the Dalek egg whisk any day of the week. That's what makes the Cybermen really scary. Not the weapons or metal bodies, or that they, as of Nightmare in Silver, run really fast, but that they could turn you into one of them. Side note, did anyone else notice there's a Yvonne Hartley in this story? And we also have Yvonne Hartman, the head of Torchwood and Army of Ghosts and Doomsday? I wonder if that was deliberate or if it was just coincidence.
I didn't think of that.
I didn't think of that either. We'll have to do some research on that. Rachel, I loved all your Chicago TARDIS updates. The video posted was awesome, too. Thanks for giving us all a taste of the convention, and for indirectly mentioning me and Brittany in the Fangirls or Fans 2 panel. For those that don't know, Rachel, Brittany, and I had a Google Hangout Squee Fest after Day of the Doctor, in which we talked for 4 hours about the whole 50th anniversary experience, and Rachel brought that up briefly in her panel, and it's on her video. Anyway, that's me done for the week. Got to go back and try to beat the crap out of that stupid Weeping Angels level on Doctor Who Legacy. Stupid rocks getting in the way of my gem board. Chrissy. Yeah, the rocks suck.
Yeah, I don't like the rocks either. All right.
The only nice thing about the rocks is that if you drag from over here and you're going to complete a Joel thing over here, if you can get the rocks to line up, it still counts as a multiplier for, even though you don't get anything for it.
It acts as a multiplier.
It acts as a multiplier, yeah. So, there's that.
Yeah.
Sorry, segue. Might have to boot this game up now. You guys talk without me. I'll be busy.
Shall we start with 10th Planets?
Yes, we will.
But that's the second story.
But we're going in order.
Depends on whose timeline you're talking about.
Yeah,
it's
in the Doctor's timeline.
Doctor's timeline. It's second story.
All right. I'll allow it.
No, it's the Doctor's timeline. It's the first story.
Well, yes, but it's the second story in this arc.
Second story in the Cybermen's timeline.
Yes.
Yes. That's what he was saying.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But we're saying this is the first in the Doctor's timeline.
It really wasn't that
Yes,
interesting
this
of
is
a
the first
comment
of the
either
Doctor.
way.
Yes.
So we can do the episode first. Let's move on.
Yes. Yes. I'm sorry.
The TARDIS lands at the South Pole in 1986. The arrival coincides with the appearance of Earth's forgotten twin planet, Mondos, along with visitors from that world, the emotionless Cybermen. It's up to the Doctor and his friends to stop the creatures before they convert Earth's population into similar cyber creations. But the encounter will have a devastating effect on the Doctor. Oh, that was it. It will have a devastating effect on the Doctor!
Dun, dun, dun! I liked it.
I'm so glad about this one.
This is one of those stories that I have a really warm place in my heart for it because I enjoy the fact that it's kind of, before Spare Parts, it's the genesis of the Cybermen.
Well, yeah.
And or their first episode, not necessarily the origin, but the origin in being introduced into Doctor Who, into the mythos. I absolutely love the concept here of the story. I like the idea of this twin planet that's come across space in order to take it over and continue its population because it's pretty much decimated itself on Earth or on
and you don't really
Mondos.
get a good reason why and how they decimated
There's
themselves.
a reason why I'm going to end up getting Telos and Mondos confused tonight, so forgive me already if I interchange them. But I'm with Chrissy, though. I think it's very dry for the first 3 episodes, and it makes it really hard to have any sympathy for anybody except for the guys in the ships that they're trying to bring down.
Yes.
And that one scientist that continues to butt heads with the main guy, the
one who's
American
essentially
guy.
stepping in for the Doctor later.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Kind of winds up helping them.
Yeah.
Right.
See, I partially agree that I think 1 and 3 are a little dry. I think 2 is absolutely fascinating. But of course, 2 and 4 are where the Cybermen are in this story.
Right.
1 and 3 they're not.
Right.
And that's, I think, where the difference is for me. Things are kind of interesting and going along, but a little dry. Ramps up because the Cybermen show up, drop back down while Team TARDIS and action scientists have to fight the base instead of the Cybermen, and then we fight the Cybermen again.
Right.
I think that's why there's a certain dichotomy
there. Bots.
I've always been dismayed of the fact that the Doctor really gets kind of pushed to the side in this one, and I also think that it falls down because I don't think the Doctor is very is as assertive as he has been in a lot of his stories, and so that's really glaringly obvious that he's not.
Especially
and Ben and Polly don't help much.
Yeah,
and I think this is only the second story with Ben and Polly.
I think it's actually their third.
Third, okay, because there's some that are missing. I know they're in the War Machines. And there must be one before that.
Yeah, there's the one before that. That actually takes place before this one.
Okay. I'm not 100% sure because that gap where there's one's missing, I haven't even watched some of the recons.
The Smugglers.
Smugglers.
Because it goes War Machine, Smugglers, this one.
Oh, it's in between. That's right.
Smugglers is missing, though, isn't it?
Smugglers is missing, yes. Yeah. So they did join him in the War Machines then?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I thought I remembered, but anyway, even with Ben and Polly there, it doesn't help much because they're even relegated to such a side story. Nothing really going on there much except for them just watching helplessly. But I really wanted the Doctor to be a little more assertive. Now, it sort of makes sense in the long run as to why, and not allowing Adventure in Space and Time to kind of tint my view of the story.
That's going to be really
hard. It
kind
of does now.
It really will.
But with what happens with the Doctor in the fourth story almost makes me forgive it, maybe retroactively think that he was already ill at that time, or aging, or having an issue before, and that's why he's just not as assertive. And so by the time the fourth one kind of rolls around, it really, the first time I watched it, took me by surprise. That, wow, that was just all of a sudden, the Doctor starts feeling ill. And he had earlier, he had a little of a spell early on, so that kind of helps. But it really seemed very sudden in the fourth episode.
Well, I don't think it because what I think is sudden is him fainting in the third episode and being
that's what I was thinking. It was the third one.
That's
where
the fact that he comes back. Yeah, that feels very out of left field.
Second episode. He faints at the end of the second episode.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. I thought it was at the end of the second. Okay, so
but still,
he's out of the third episode for the most part.
He's out altogether. Right. He doesn't come back until 4.
And now, of course, now playing into Adventure in Space and Time, I think that was probably done in such a way that he was pretty well advanced in his. I can't remember what he had. We said it last week on the show.
His illness.
But he already had that where he was forgetting lines and having real difficulty with the part.
Which I think you tweeted out that they had to write around the fact, which I know, and they said it in bonus features, they had to write around the fact that he got suddenly very ill.
Yeah, he did get sick and had to call.
So they had to relegate a lot of lines to Ben and Polly and to the scientists, and that's why the scientists take such a bigger role.
That's why the Doctor then is pretty much written out of this story for the most part. But the fourth story is great, and this was the first time that I'd seen it in the animation, because the other couple of times I'd watched it, I'd seen the one with the recon the reconstruction for the fourth episode, which still was very interesting. In fact, I've watched a few of the recons, and that was one of the ones particularly that I didn't. I mean, I knew I was watching a recon, but it was. Sometimes I'll sit there and it's hard for me to watch a telesnaps over and over again for the same, because they're just limited on what they can use. This was the first time that I watched one that was reconstructed that I went, wow, that's actually, it just blew by. It didn't feel like it was dragging or anything. And
we watched so part of the VHS one. I don't know if the one you've seen before had the different color backgrounds.
Yes, I think that's one of the ones that I've seen. The first one I saw, I think, was Loose Cannons, and then this one was, I think I saw this one recently.
I think the changing backgrounds and then the scroll of text underneath saying what's happening, I think really
that certainly
benefited it.
Yeah, really, really helps. And I agree with you. The part that we watched of the telesnap reconstruction,
we just kind of fast forward to watch the regeneration in live action afterwards.
But it really did seem that it just moved.
Clips right on along. It's really great. It's very, very well paced, and the recon is done well in that particular.
This is one of those. I'm torn because yes, I agree with Chrissy. I think the first 3 episodes are a little less than stellar. I mean, realistically, if you were just sit down and without putting anything else into it and just looking at it as what we're given, they're three pretty less than stellar episodes. The Doctor is not as assertive as he probably ought to be.
I think they're not. They're less than stellar Doctor Who stories, but pretty good science fiction in general.
It's still good science fiction, but it feels like almost kind of one of those.
It feels very more science fiction than Doctor Who.
It feels like a bland episode of the Twilight Zone. Yeah, even
I would agree.
Even the bland episodes are still good, but they're just some that are not as great.
Yeah.
This kind of feels like that, where it's one that it's on, I'll watch it. And then the Doctor shows up and it gets good, but he's kind of stuck in that limbo of not really being very effective. And the guys in the base are like, they're really all designed to be disposable, hateable characters.
Yeah, there's not really many you like,
and
especially the main guy.
I was surprised that for what was very early on set up as base under siege story, didn't go that way. I mean, yeah, there was an attack and a couple of waves of guys coming in, but I mean, instead, it was kind of the opposite. It was the Cybermen, run, get off the planet, because they're going to nuke you and your planet and everything else.
Another Tale of Humanity saga.
Yeah.
Although
score one for the home team.
Although part of it is the lesser of two evils in that aspect. You nuke half the planet to save the other half.
It's more of the...
And isn't that interesting that we just came off the 50th?
Well,
It's more of the head guy, though, the guy that's in command. I mean, that he even after Geneva tells him,
don't do that.
Don't do that yet. He still turns around and acts as though he's had authorization.
Yeah.
Well, and the fact that he doesn't care what Geneva says or half the planet as long as his son's safe.
Right.
That makes you just instantly, it's a shame, but that's still one life compared to half the planet.
Right.
You're in the wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
It does add a level.
Not clear thinking there.
It does add a level of compassion for the character,
why
wanting to do anything he can to bring his son home, but
he starts stepping over that line,
right? Exactly. But then it pushes it a little too far.
I got the compassion for him until Geneva told him not to do it.
Yeah,
because he was very pushing for it, and then he just said, "Well, screw you! I'm going to do it anyway to save my son." And that's what crosses the line.
You knew you were in trouble when he says, "The way I see it, there are three things we need to deal with. One, we've got to get my son down at orbit. Two, we have to deal with this alien incursion." Whoa, your priorities are a little jacked up here, mister. I'm sorry. He's 1 and 2. Wrong. And then whatever 3 was also important. But it's like, your kid's in orbit. He's okay. Yeah. I mean, Mondas is going to blow him up, but there's nothing. You can't go after him, so just leave him there. I felt like Mrs. Peacock. Let him stay locked up for another half an hour. There's just... I don't know. The characters in this are... I get where you're coming from with the sympathy for this general, but at the same time, I don't know. It was played in such a way that he was so gung-ho American military almost.
Yeah.
I don't know about anybody else. He felt distinctly American, not only because of the accent, but just mannerisms and attitude. Like, yeah, he's one of us. Sorry about that. But I didn't feel a lot of sympathy for him. I didn't feel a lot of empathy with him for the fact that his son was in danger. And I think maybe if he'd put a little more anguish in it and then turned, maybe that would have been a...
Yeah, there could...
He did kind of choose
the scenery a little bit.
That would have worked for me better, but I did have some empathy for him.
Did you?
Maybe being a father.
Maybe
you kind of put your kids first before anything else.
Yeah.
But... And so I could see that, and I could sympathize with that, but also I think that I sort of wished that maybe he would have, like you just said, pushed, not pushed so readily and so fast.
Yeah.
It would have been better, and he would have got more empathy from me.
And then we've got Ben and Polly, who pretty much for 3 episodes rank among the worst companions ever.
I'm going to choose to believe that they didn't figure out how to write them yet.
I could buy that.
Like they
didn't the War Machine 10 episodes or something?
I don't know when they show up.
It's a long one.
But having them in their atmosphere of when they're supposed... I don't know much about the War Machines either. I don't know if it's set in their current 60s time.
I think
so taking them out of that elements can be a challenge writing to keep the characters the same.
Well, they were just displaced to the... Well, I don't know what about the smugglers, but they were just displaced to the 1980s as far as this story goes. So.
And there's some kind of interesting. They're you can tell that they're in the future a little bit with Ben and Polly. Yeah. And there's some nice little moments there in the beginning before they kind of get...
Yeah, the War Machines takes place in 66.
Shuffled in the back.
Well, but see, even then, and I'm trying really hard not to let Adventure Time and Space, color my perceptions, but even that scene where they're all in the TARDIS getting ready to go out, and they're like these two teeny bopper go-goes,
Oh, and he's chastising them. We don't know what's out there.
We don't know what's out there. And, give me my coat and my hat. And they're all kind of like bouncing around. Can we go yet? Can we go yet? Can we go yet? It's like, I just had this kind of instant dislike of them. And it's not fair, but it just kind of hit me. Oh, why is he dragging these two along? I mean, they're just horrible. And then they get into the base and they don't acquit themselves at all. And Ben drops one line about, being a seaman.
Sailor.
He's a sailor or something. He must have been the cook because he didn't do anything sailory. I mean, I would think that if you were in Her Majesty's Royal Navy, which presumably Ben was, we haven't watched The War Machines yet, and I haven't seen it. But whatever his backstory is there, you would think that he'd had some sort of combat training, and that he would then put that to use, and he doesn't.
No.
Through any of it.
This story especially, and I don't remember much from the War Games, but this story specifically, really Ben and Polly are two sexes of the same person to me. I mean, they're really way too similar to be two companions on a ship.
Aside from Polly doesn't get to do quite as much.
Well, she doesn't in this, but they still have that same... They seem the same age. They seem to have the same mindset with things. Yeah,
they had the same haircut.
Might as well be twins, yeah. Now, the only
it was like the ineffectual Wonder Twins. It was that episode of Justice League where they didn't do anything and couldn't get it together. But episode 4 comes along, and all of a sudden, Ben turns into Harry Sullivan Light. Mm-hmm. Like he's in there and he's in the thick of things.
Well, and even a little bit in 3 when he's trying to get through the ventilation shaft and stuff.
Yeah. He just all of a sudden starts doing instead of passively allowing things to happen. And he becomes interesting all of a sudden. He really flipped on a dime for me, and it was like, oh, okay, go Ben. Let's see some stuff. And throughout, when that happens in 3, all the way up until the bit where he turns the projector on the cyber leader in the room. Wasn't the most effectual plan, but it worked.
It worked, yeah. Well, I look at that and I think, okay, that worked out. Right.
I mean, as soon as they showed that big old projector in the room, it was like, you could huck that at him. That'd do some damage. Yeah. I'm thinking blunt instrument. I'm thinking like Leela. And he's like, oh, I could turn it on and blind him. I was like, oh, that might work too. Then huck it at him. But now, Polly, unfortunately, is kind of relegated to that. I'm going to sit and care for the doctor and hope that he gets better.
And the group.
And so she kind of all of a sudden defaults into that woman mode. Yeah. Not that that's appropriate, but just that that's how they were written at this stage of time.
From my exposure to Polly, which is this and Moonbase, that's pretty much what she does most of the time.
Yeah.
And she goes and makes coffee. Which Moonbase actually plays...
Oh, that's right, you read Moonbase.
I read Moonbase,
that's right,
yeah.
I forgot that.
It plays a big part of the plot in Moonbase. It's the coffee, actually.
Really?
Yeah. But they seem to have written them better later on. It could be the novelization, too, I don't know.
Well, we'll find out when we get there. But, yeah, 4 really turned things around, and so I was kind of pleased to see that. Until the final episode, the final part of the final episode, where it seemed like, okay, the threat has passed, and we just disintegrated back into whiny teenager mode, and doctor pounding on the door let us in. I mean, admittedly, that's some concern that you're going to get left, but it felt abrupt.
It was a little.
We went straight from a handsome fellow to let us in.
The entire ending kind of is abrupt.
Yeah.
Once Mondos gets destroyed and the Cybermen's deflate, they escape and run away. I mean, that's the end. That's from deflation to end credits is probably 3 minutes.
Yeah.
It's really quick.
It's really quick.
So I can excuse that because it's moving so quickly.
But for all of that, there's an enormous amount of material to like here. The Cybermen are awesome. I love the design.
The design, the voices, incredible.
I thought at first I was like, oh, you're not going to do that. But then it just, that works. That's so totally cool and alien and weird. I love the backstory.
I wish the Cybermen still talked like that to the today. I don't mind.
kinda
I don't mind that they have the new design. In fact, I think Spare Parts does a lot to explain why this is the Cyberman we have now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Attack of the Cybermen kind of blows that all up, but why the design has changed. So,
Agreed.
Not so much, but yeah.
Attack does.
I think so, because it's still set later, even though it's... No, because the Cyberman time traveled back to stop it from happening. It's not that era Cyberman.
Yeah.
I guess that's true. But I got the impression the ones that were in the tombs were, because or in the encasings, in the frozen, were the same. Should have been the same ones that were in the tomb, even though we had the ones that were the look of the Tomb of the Cybermen ones. Even though we have the ones that have come back to try to prevent Mondos.
I suppose it depends on
from being destroyed. But they come out of their
their
little cellophane packaging, and there you have the new look as well. They have the new design as well. So that's always kind of bothered me. But
wouldn't that have been cool if they'd gone back and had the big old chest unit and the tubes and it probably would have looked really horrible by 1980 something television standards.
Yeah. Well, people would have been confused. Why do these Cybermen? I mean, especially if they were new viewers. Why do these Cybermen don't look like these Cybermen?
There's a challenge. Somebody write an episode that requires us to go back and revisit these Cybermen in this outfit. And somebody can throw away a line about, they've changed a lot or something.
They changed a bunch between this and Tomb of the Cybermen, too.
Yeah.
Huge design change.
Well, and that's not even the
evolutionary leaps forward.
Yeah.
Because they never look like this again. They evolve. Even what Moonbase was it? What you determined was the next one, or
Moonbase
is the next Cyberman story.
Yeah, even by the Moonbase, they look completely different.
Yeah. So, but I love the design of the Cybermen. I'm so it's so 60s retro chic, awesome.
What's really I think is cool about this design is the giant thing above their crotch is a gun. It's not a part of their chest unit.
Right.
Which I was always kind of looking at and I'm like, what is up with that thing?
Yeah.
And it's a gun. Okay, that's where they store it. I'm fine with that. And the fact that this design, more than any others, you can see the human, the biological beneath it.
That's why I think Spare Parts does a good job of making this design fit. Because even in Spare Parts, they haven't quite got, some of them have gotten to this point, but it's still more like,
this is still even a work in progress.
Right. Yeah.
Because you see that even though it was an accident, watching the bonus features, the bare hands.
Yeah.
They spray painted their hands silver, but you can't tell that in black and white. Yeah. And they meant to do gloves, and apparently the costume lady was so embarrassed that she didn't do gloves. That they just completely forgot them.
Yeah.
But I think it works.
I think it works. I think it makes it more effective for where they're at in that evolutionary process.
It shows more that this used to be essentially parallel humans.
Yeah.
I don't feel bad, costume lady. We're going to call it a happy accident because it was awesome.
Yeah, I think so too.
I would agree.
I was a little worried initially when the planet was upside down.
I think that was a really
very obvious. Hey, look, it's an upside down Earth, and I kind of made a scathing joke about, you couldn't even design a new planet, guys. It just looks like an upside down Earth. And then one of the characters said, "Oh, that's Madagascar right there." And I went, "Oh, well, at least you're dressing it. Then I'll shut up," because I thought it was just a convenient. Nobody will notice if we flip Australia upside down. I noticed.
I guess I always knew that it was Earth's forgotten twin, and that's why I didn't think twice about it just being flipped.
I just went for the obvious design flaw versus it is actually part of the story, but it turned out to be part of the story. So you're right.
Yeah.
But, so that was cool, and then William Hartnell was really good with what little he did.
Yeah.
And apparently, according to one of the wiki pages or something, there was a line in the script that was meant to imply that whatever this energy transfer that was going between Earth and Mondos is what triggered the Doctor getting sick. Because he's okay up until that point happens, and then all of a sudden it really starts to affect him.
Faints.
And not only is that why he faints, but it's ultimately that energy that causes the regeneration.
Wait, say that again?
There was something in the script.
When they're trying to pull energy from the Earth.
That Mondos is sucking energy up or absorbing or whatever, that's what triggers his illness and ultimately his regeneration. but it kind of got lost in the shuffle and didn't get delivered with the same import, apparently, that they thought it would have had. And so it's just widely assumed that he dies of old age. I'm fine with either.
Yeah, I think you have to go with he died with old age, because when the final product comes out, you kind of have to...
Yeah, whether it was the Cybermen that caused it or it was old age that caused it, I'm fine either way. It doesn't bother me. I'm not going to nitpick one way or the other.
I don't remember reading, because I read both the wikis, and it's not on TARDIS wiki, because that's where I'm at now.
No, it was on the other one.
It must have been.
Regular wiki.
Because this one says some fans don't fully accept the fact that the Doctor regenerated due to old age. They speculate that that Mondas was plundered. Mondas plundered not only Earth's energy, but the Doctor's as well, shrinking his lifespan, growing weaker with each passing moment. The Doctor eventually regenerated.
Yeah, no, it's somewhere that it was the script editor, the guy that actually wrote the script for the episode, who commented on that. That was what was supposed to have been implied.
I wonder if that would be in the either commentary or the info text when watching it.
Could be.
I'll have to go back and check that out.
Let's talk animation, because we got to see it with animation. You got to see it with animation.
I liked it. I thought it was very effective.
The animation for this is the best I've seen since the invasion. Because we talked about... Well, I guess I'm ahead of it, because I have watched the Ice Warriors.
You have watched
because there's animation on that. So there's been 4. This is the 4th in a line.
Yeah, I guess we haven't gone back. I haven't gone back and watched Ice Warriors since it's been animated.
Because I really liked how it was done for Invasion. Reign of Terror, we talked about the Uncanny Valley aspect of it, and I really was disappointed with the animation in this one. Then I saw the Ice Warriors, and we'll probably get there, even though we reviewed it before. We'll get there and talk about it again when we all get a chance to see it, maybe on a Friday Night Who. The animation's horrible in it. So bad. And so it's like they tried to do the Cosmic Grove Hall style, but they fell down. It didn't quite work. And so when I got to this one, I think that made this one look even better than I expected. But I think this is the best I've seen since the Invasion, as far as animation goes. I think it's the best.
I would agree.
Of the 3 that I've seen, I still prefer the Invasion over all of them.
See, I think...
But I really liked how this one, in my mind, it seems like they went with Reign of Terror and kind of figured out what they did wrong.
Agreed.
And tweaked it a little bit. It is the very realistic look to it.
They improved it.
But... And maybe it has nothing to do with the animation. Maybe it's just that they're purely going off telesnaps, and Reign of Terror was directed with a lot more close-ups, so they animated more close-ups.
Well, I
don't know.
I think some of it also is story. This last story was much better than
there's a lot of action.
Well, that's true too.
There's not a chance for a lot of people to stand around and talk for a long time, and so I think that's what this one has going for it, is they were forced to put the action that was happening in it, and you can't skimp on that kind of thing with the quick still shots or the close-ups to the face, where you can just animate the mouth.
There seemed to
some
also
facial expressions. It really felt like they had to do something.
Well, and even
there's
the scenes
also
when
some really nice framing in some of it.
Yeah.
Even when they're talking, like there was one shot that I noticed of it was half of somebody's face.
Hartnell was all the way off on one side of the screen,
half of
but
his
you got to see everybody else, which I thought was really
that
cool.
Was really. I don't think they shot it that way.
Quite frankly, I think they took more creative liberties with this
think
one
so
than
too.
they probably did any
Well,
of
even
them.
in the couple of scenes where Hartnell's monologuing, he's got motion blurs on his hand when he's motioning this, and it was. I mean, I thought that was an effective. Okay, yeah, that's cool. I like that. It's not just the hand going up and down, but it's actually blurred a little bit to really kind of drive that point home. So yeah, it's in my mind, it's a step above Reign of Terror. I still prefer the animation in Invasion.
Yeah,
I still think
this
that's
is my second.
But this would be my second. So if you didn't get a chance to watch it or your DVDs arrived late, then we're sorry. Definitely go check it out. Now, what did you think of the fact that they animated the whole episode? I was a little surprised that they didn't immediately switch back over to what footage there was.
I think it would have taken me out of the story. I think they wanted to stay with one medium so that you didn't feel yanked out of it. Because at least when you separate the animation the way that this is done, there's a break in between the episodes. You get an opening scene.
Because they don't rerun the open they animate the open too.
Yeah.
So it's complete.
So I was dismayed when I first heard before this came out on DVD that's how they were doing it. That they went in and animated the regeneration scene. Now it's my understanding that the actual clip is available on there as well.
Yeah, it's part of the reconstruction.
So
we watched it.
Yeah, and then well, that's one I've always seen too. And fortunately, Blue Peter had that in their archives, or we would have had that lost forever as well. But no, I think when I come down on it, I appreciate the fact that they went in and animated it, and just so beginning to end, we weren't pulled out of the story by the quick change in media.
I agree.
I was just curious to know what everybody thought.
Let's move on to spare parts.
Wait, before we finish, I want to say, I think while the first two parts are slower, I think especially for the time period, it was important to establish the ideas of what was happening here.
I'll give you that.
That's why the first two are so much slower, and you kind of have to build up to the fourth awesome episode. Because you got to give the ideas. This is the thing. I mean, also think of it in the perspective of 1966. The idea of the Cybermen, I would imagine, are so abstract at that point.
Yeah, but I think you could.
Somewhere I heard that this is the first televised cyborg. I could be wrong on that, but I think I remember doing some research somewhere, and they credited, it's been obviously an idea within science fiction novels forever,
yes.
But that Doctor Who did it first, before anybody else did any kind of human-machine hybrid, that the Cybermen have that footnote in history that they are the first televised. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
I've never heard
pretty sure I heard that. So I agree with you that this is kind of a big step.
And for 60,
now it's.
I think you still could.
I still, big ideas.
Ironically, it's airing. This episode aired at the same time that Star Trek debuted.
Huh.
It was October 8th through the 29th. So actually, Star Trek had a month jump on them. But
the UK didn't get Star Trek episodes right away.
Right. No, I'm
I'm
just showing the comparison between this show and one that had money.
Well, yeah,
but not as much. But
you could compare shows from the 70s, Doctor Who, and American shows in the 70s, and there's still quite a difference in those as well, or even the Avengers. You know, we pick on Doctor Who because of its low quality production, or lower than normal quality production, but even if you look at some of the other science fiction or fantasy or shows that were going on in the UK in the 1970s versus the ones that were being made out of Hollywood in the 1970s, there's quite a difference there as well. So it's comparing apples to oranges, unfortunately, in that situation. But.
Well, and the real threat of the Cybermen in this one is kind of implied. They tell us what they're going to do, but we never actually see a conversion. There's no one really threatened with it. And then, I'm sorry, Keith, the Cybermen line up like ducks at a carnival and walk into a... and then they get their guns picked up and they get carted off and they land another spaceship and they come out and they land and they walk into the thing and they fall down again. It's like, wow, you guys suck.
I tell you, going back to what Keith was saying about how you felt like it needed 2 episodes to kind of.
Well, I don't know if it needed to, but I think it had great establishments.
I see what you're going, but I still think you can have a 2-episode establishment arc and still have more going on than what was going on. It felt like you could have taken and mushed episode 1 and 2 together and really kind of got a better paced story than we had here. That's my problem with episode 1 and episode 2, is they're just so dry. Even 3 is I mean, it's a step up from the first 2, but it just, I don't know, it was...
I guess I was much more engaged in the story.
I'm more engaged when the Cybermen show up in the second episode.
That's the thing. The first episode's all the mystery of, okay, who are these people? Why are we at this Arctic base? What is with this planet?
Why do we have this planet?
Part of my episode excusing episode 1 might be giddiness of knowing, Cybermen are coming.
All right, let's move on to
pretty sure your entire was Cybermen.
There are some great bonus features on this, by the way. N.K. Wills talks about her time, and there's a really interesting documentary or featurette discussing the golden age of Doctor Who and how it's kind of a myth, and how everyone who just focusing on the idea of whenever you started watching Doctor Who, that's when you think the golden age is, and it's different for everyone. It's a really interesting bonus feature. It's really cool.
I'm going to have to watch that.
That's all I have for the 10th planet.
Okay.
I had something else, but I can't remember what it was now. So yeah.
Well, let's
we'll move on. I know Glenn.
I'm shooting for a shorter than normal.
Glenn's chomping at the bit to get to spare parts, so let's move on to spare parts.
I'm shooting for a.
He's just on drugs and
I
tired.
am tired. All right, spare parts.
And then,
on the planet Mondos, the Fifth Doctor and Nyssa discover the origins of the Cybermen, but as with the Daleks in Genesis of the Daleks, he dares not interfere with history by preventing their creation. That's not the official, that's the short one.
Yeah, no, that's great.
so they referenced Genesis
In the synopsis.
in the synopsis for,
On Wikipedia.
huh?
Not in the actual Big Finish synopses, mind you.
Dun dun dun!
Yeah, that's appropriate.
I love this story.
Yeah.
I love this story. And part of me wonders if the reason I love this story is this was the first story that I was introduced to Big Finish through.
It's
Ooh,
a great
good one.
I went
first
into Dean's Books here in town, and I was looking for Doctor Who stuff, because occasionally they have old classic Doctor Who magazines and things like that. And I was scurrying around, and I picked up a few magazines and a novel, and I took it to the front. And the guy running the bookstore, I don't know if it was Dean, it was the other guy, he said, "Oh, did you see we have this?" And I'm like, "What is this?" And it was a CD. And I thought, that's kind of weird. And so he showed it to me and said, "This is another Doctor Who thing. I saw you picked up some Doctor Who. You'd be interested in it." And I looked at it and I thought, well, even if that's like music, that would be kind of cool. So I went ahead and bought it. And then when I got home, I was reading the flip side of it, and I was like, oh, audio play, that's kind of weird. So I put it in and listened to it, and I was blown away by it. I was just, I couldn't believe how good it was. And so part of that might be, I may be tainting the pool a little bit because of the fact that
I imagine
it was
that
my first story.
That probably
but it
makes
was just
things like
so
Phantasmagoria
Well,
look
that's
so
just it.
bad
Yeah,
afterwards that you're just like, oh man.
Yeah,
what
and
happened?
then I've discovered other great Big Finish since then. But yeah, it really just, especially for the Fifth Doctor, because this is a Fifth Doctor story, a little bit into his run already, so he didn't realize that he had some that were really kind of stinkers, and not to Peter Davison or the Fifth Doctor's fault.
Yeah, no,
They're
just
just
or
written
Nyssa's.
poorly, or Nyssa, yeah,
just poor Turlo, just bad writing.
I think part of why I also enjoyed 10th Planet more was I listened to this first. And so I kind of had that history going into 10th Planet of filling in the holes too.
Well, what I liked about this is the fact that I knew 10th Planet. I had seen 10th Planet. So a couple of times by the time I got spare parts. And listening to it, I kept going, oh, because I knew where they were. Even the first time I listened to it, I knew where they were when they first landed. Because when they were describing, parallel Earth, but she gets, well, I know it's not London because London doesn't have a cave, isn't it a cave? And I was sitting there going, I wonder if this is, and it, just little hints that they were dropping, I totally knew, and I know the Doctor knew where he was right off the start.
He totally knew right where he was.
But, so I got excited about that because I thought, wow, this is a neat way to kind of harken back and do a Genesis story of the Genesis of the Cybermen. And it clips along really well. I agree with Chrissy that you totally get invested with the Hartley family. Even Thomas, not Thomas, what was the brother's name? Frank. Jim.
No, we were all far.
Yeah, Jim.
Frank sounded right,
even
didn't it?
Jim,
It sounded like Frank.
who you kind of just have this distaste for because of some of the manipulation that he's got going on there early on, and he wants to go to the front lines. Even him, you really grow to just appreciate him, and I think especially when Yvonne comes back and she's been converted, that's when it's just
when it finally kicks.
Wow, yeah. And it just, you feel so bad for. I think I never heard them call the dad anything but Mr. Hartley or our dad, so I don't know.
It was according to TARDIS Wiki, he's just dad.
Okay, so but you just really feel for them when that happens, and unfortunately, that's where she went. Even when she shows back up, and in fact, when the Cyberman shows up, I can't say I wasn't surprised when it's revealed that it's Yvonne, but I almost, maybe in the back of my mind, expected it, just the way that they were laying the story out.
Yeah.
But it's still just the impact.
Although
of it was very, very
part of me myself had to laugh, and because I thought There's always got to be a Cyberman Bob in these stories. Isn't there?
Yeah, she was very
pretty much
Cyberman
ever
Bob.
since the invasion, there's a Cyberman Bob.
There's been a lot of Cybermen Bobs. It's like, with a half processed. We're trying to keep him in the room. One wandered off, and I went, "It's Bob!" And I thought that to myself. And I was listening with Mel, and Mel sort of laughed. She goes, "It's Cyberman Bob." Apparently, I had an impact. But yeah, the same way when the Cybermen showed up at the house and everybody's freaking out. I was like, "Oh, it's the Cybermen!" And I just, as soon as they walked in the door with it, I went, "Oh," because I just knew. I just knew. And then it started going, "Dad." And I'm like, "Oh."
It was Frank.
Well, what was great?
It was Frank?
Yeah, because Jim Hartley played Frank Hartley.
Oh.
It's Frank.
Wow.
It's Frank.
That's why Frank sounded right.
Yeah.
What's
But just gut punch. Just,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally.
what was also? I loved the little line of "They made you taller."
Yeah.
The fact that, oh wait, they've not only upgraded them, they've uniformed them all, and
Yeah.
that's why all
Yeah.
the Cybermen always look the
you
same.
don't see.
Fixes,
Yeah, you
all
don't
of
see
them.
tall
And
or
it's
short.
such a tragic. They made you taller. It's
Yeah.
It's not a good thing. It's not. Wow, you had a growth spurt. It's not something to be happy about. It's like, what did they do to my little girl? And that's the next line as he follows up with it,
even
you know?
more insult to injury of all this stuff on you. You're now even taller,
Yeah, never
which
mind the
means
fact that you're
less human.
Never mind the fact that you're in a robot suit. They made you taller.
Yeah.
I just such a everything about this works.
Well, and I said it before.
Well written.
This makes the design of the Cybermen 10th Planet much more acceptable to me because it really still feels like part of the evolution.
Yeah,
of,
they're
of,
still
of
going.
their developing, fine-tuning themselves, upgrading. It actually kind of works for Nightmare in Silver as well. That they just continuing to upgrade and improve upon themselves, even though they start to do things that are a little less Cyberman-like, but it's just because we've been so used to the Cybermen in such a way, for so long. I like the concept of sister men.
I love the little ideas too of just adding Sister Men and Doctor Men.
Yeah, I like that.
They just Cybermen. It just continues,
and it totally makes sense. Yeah,
so,
it works.
yes.
It works for the Cybermen idea. But I love the fact that we've got Sisterman Constant, which you kind of feel is, even though she's the one that's selecting members to go to be not even completely full conversions, but to be able to go into the workforce and whatnot. And she has this there's almost this sister, what am I looking for? Nunnish feel to her, and that there's this faith side or spirituality side of this, and then you've got the Dr. Moon, is that what they call it? Dr. Moon Allen, who's the scientific side of this, but both of them have come together, so you've got these two sides that are working towards the same cause, but in a different way. The means is different. For the effect is the same, but the means is different. How they're getting there and driving to that point, and it makes it all the better that she goes in resisting the conversion because she's the selector. She's the one that selects, and she can't be converted. And then for her to be ultimately, and obviously I'm skipping ahead, but ultimately be her the reason why Mondos gets put back on the path that it was on before is because of her. So it's this nice contrast of what has happened and the tragedy of this character, and it really works really well for that.
She was such a distasteful character, and not quite to she wasn't Nurse Ratched. She wasn't what's the woman in Harry Potter? Dolores.
Yeah.
She wasn't Dolores quality, but she was just unpleasant. So when it got down to that point and she's worried about her job, well, you can't convert everybody. What will I do?
Right.
And I'm laughing because it's like, I know what you're going to do. You're going to be first. You're going to be the first to that line. And then she does get taken. And I laughed. I literally, ha, 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 serves you right, dummy. And, I was having a good old heyday with that. And then we got to the end, and she was the one that, and then I felt bad that she got taken. Because, if you had left her alone, then I felt like it was my fault. That I shouldn't have laughed at your misfortune there. Because now you're going to do them all these other people. It kind of sucked. But yeah, I just that same everybody's got an arc,
Yeah.
which is great. That even the minor characters, as Christy said, this is how you do one-offs.
Yeah.
That the Frank, and he's so I'm like Luke. I want to go join the rebellion and leave the planet. Oh wow, that's what it involves. That kind of sucks. And that he becomes this good character.
Right.
That Yvette has this horrible. She's just a nice person, and everything. And then Hartley and everything that he goes through, and even Nissa and the Doctor get wonderful character growth moments.
And that idea
especially
is mentioned, that the grieving over Adric and that exploration.
I love that that's addressed and explored a little bit in that.
And the fact that, that's the whole reason why Nissa wants to stick around, is because of what happened to Adric.
Right.
And that's also why the Doctor wanted to run away. It's so perfect for the story.
Now,
I would agree.
Is this... Does anybody have it pulled up? Is this set immediately after, or is this still meant to be in the line of whatever Big Finish has put out?
Exactly after what?
Earthshock. Sorry.
No. Because it would still be after
because they hadn't
the Big Finish stories.
Yeah, and Nissa. No, wait, Nissa returned before. No, she left.
Because who else was in Earthshock? Was Tegan still there?
It was Tegan.
Tegan.
Tegan was still there. So
Nissa.
we had to go all the way up
Tegan.
to whatever the Dalek says when Tegan leaves. No, because Turlough's there too.
No, that's Tegan's second leaving. She left once.
It's that one where she leaves like half a story, right?
Time Flight is when she leaves the first time. He actually leaves her behind on accident.
Right.
And she returns for Arc of Infinity. So
while Arc of Infinity is the next story.
Well, that's just it. All of these Doctor and Nissa stories
Are
take place between Time Flight and Arc of Infinity.
Okay.
So,
because I almost got the impression at one point.
It is soon after Adric.
Right. Well, I almost got the impression at one point when she says we haven't had time to grieve. It's something about the way that part was put together that it almost felt like we just lost Adric, and now I'm going to go over here and see what's up. It's almost like he planned it. You know what I mean? But I realized it wasn't. But
Earthshock was right before Time Flight.
Right. In fact, we commented that there's a mention about the loss of Adric in the beginning of Time Flight.
Yeah.
Or somebody's in his room, I think, looking through stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the only...
And I think
really
we've gotten some
we
mentions in previous Big Finish, too, haven't we?
So then all of the Big Finish fit into that one little window.
All of the Fifth Doctor and Nissa stories by themselves fit in that time frame.
Okay. So, that makes more sense then. So we've still had all these other ones in advance of it. But,
yes.
Okay. I don't know, it seemed like it was almost like he specifically planned to go straight from Earthshock to Mondos and see what he could do. Because she makes the comment about it didn't bring him back. And so that's what really stuck me on that track.
Yeah, but I never got the impression that the Doctor intended to land on Mondos.
Like
I said, it just, that one line really kind of stuck in there for some reason.
Because he genuinely seems surprised that they're there.
Yeah.
And then really wants to leave.
He does realize... And then really wanted to leave.
really wants to leave, so...
Which, note for your companions, you don't ever want to leave. Ever. But Pompeii, he wanted to get out of there pretty quick. And Mondo. If the Doctor... I'm sorry, I've seen enough Doctor Who to know that if I'm traveling with him on the TARDIS and he goes, whoa, creepy vibe, let's go. I'm in the ship. I've got tea ready to go. Let's go.
He wanted to leave Pompeii twice.
Yeah.
In Fires of Vulcan and Fires of Pompeii.
It's never a good sign when the Doctor says, let's get out of Dodge.
Right.
You get out of Dodge. Follow.
Another thing that I thought was really kind of cool and serendipitous was the fact that this takes place at Christmas time.
And the explanation
and they never say
the tree.
Christmas. They never say Christmas.
But that explanation was phenomenal.
The explanation of the tree was so good.
It sure was.
I mean, that was like Stephen Moffat Christmas special caliber good.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean?
I would agree.
The Collective.
I love that the voice was different. The committee voice was different.
Yes. 10,000 bonus points for making them sound like Cylons.
Oh, yeah. Well, here's what was... I didn't think that either, but here's what's really cool.
I thought they looked like...
Is the fact that I really bought into the fact that there was some physical group of people that made all these decisions, and then so the unveiling of this machine that is the committee, I was blown away by that. I was like, oh, that's fantastic. No wonder we just completely convert everybody to Cybermen.
Yeah.
It's Davros. It's the metallic version of Davros is what it is. It's just...
And the logic that, okay, well, the world engine's not ready. We've got a hole in the roof. What do? Let's convert everybody. Then we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay. I just pardon the expression, but the cold machine logic that went into that.
That's just wonderfully imagined.
Just so good. I love the fact that they sounded like Cylons. The old by your command, deep voiced. That was it was different, but it just
I got. Oh, this sounds like an actual. Of course,
certainly
having not
sounded more
seen 10th Planet,
yeah.
I thought, oh, this sounds like an actual Cyberman.
Yeah, I guess I could buy that.
It's more like a Cyber Leader sound than a 10th Planet Cyberman.
Yeah, so then, were you surprised then that the Cybermen were talking? That weird cadence.
10th Planet a little bit, yeah, because I expected, that's whatever these weird policemen were. Because I didn't get the impression that the policemen weren't fully converted Cybermen. I kind of got
right. No, they weren't, and they even made a comment about the horse is mostly
it was partially
with
the headpiece, yeah. I thought that the Cybermen are going to show up and have the normal voice I'm used to, but was pleasantly surprised in 10th Planet when, it's this weird supercomputer is that voice, and eventually that's why they lose even more of their humanity later and become more metallic
more like what the committee was. Yes. Yeah, that totally works and makes sense as to why the voice pattern sort of changes.
But going into 10th Planet, yes, I did not expect their voices to be like that.
Gotcha. And speaking of conversion, I mean, I love the way that this is set up, that we've got this one guy that's running this organ shop, basically, where you can come buy organs, and they're so hard to come by because everybody's gone to using implants already. In fact, Nissa thinks the dad is dead because she's listening, and there's no heartbeat, and it's because he probably doesn't have one anymore. He's got this machine that's running him inside. He's basically got a pacemaker that is completely cyborg. And I did like the fact that when he hurt his arm, and Sisterman keeps asking him about, you look hurt, and he's, no, I'll be fine. He was probably much more injured than he was letting on. He just didn't want any more cybernetic implants.
Yeah. I neither want nor can afford another
one.
And that's what the story does, even above anything else. That's what the story does the best, is portray Mondos and the cyber race so well, and you really understand how they eventually came this way.
Yeah, because
it shows that step between. It's like, we wouldn't go upgrade parts.
It's that nice. That nice little. Yeah, okay. It makes sense to. You know what? If I can, I've got a bad ticker, and I can replace it with something that's going to. You're talking about your cyber implant for your brain earlier. If I can find something that medically will enhance me or make me better than before, because a heart transplant, those are difficult. Those don't always go through. But if you're able to put a machine in there that you can easily repair, people are going to be really accepting of that. In fact, I think society's already going that. We have bionic implants now as we speak.
Already looking for bionic limb replacement.
It makes sense that a civilization would be okay with the beginning of that process, not seeing the end of what that means.
That's the thing that's always kind of made me wonder about the Cyberman backstory, is the idea that, we started replacing things and then just didn't stop. And I always thought, that's just weird. Why would you do that? But seeing here for the first time that slippery slope, that it's just this, it's just this, it's just this.
It makes it sound more gradual.
And now we've given you a reason for this and this and this to happen.
Right.
It's like, okay, now I see where you're going with that. Because, I would totally, I mean, there was the one with the optic implants now that they can do for blind people.
Well, and even audio implants for hearing.
And so that how long do you go before all of a sudden Tommy, that deaf dumb blind kid? Okay, so now we've given him the optic implants, the audio implants, and this. And how long do you before you no longer can call yourself human because of these implants and the cybernetic? So. It just really took the nugget of the story of 10th Planet that presented itself with, hey, let's introduce this new alien race, and just blew it open. And that's one of the reasons why I think I'm a little more forgiving of 10th Planet, despite all the things that we kind of thought,
I think so too.
Wrong with it. I think when you pair it with spare parts,
it really helps
and an adventure space-time, you just get this, it really is this.
It elevates it.
Pivotal.
Immensely. I think Spare Parts does a tremendous effort to help 10th Planet. And I think that the writer of this story who should I credit for this?
Credit where credit is
Mark
due.
Platt. This is Mark Platt. So
Wonderful
absolutely.
stuff. It's just, this is
good.
Among my favorite Big Finish that we've listened to. It's
And-
so good.
And we haven't even talked about the idea. I don't know why I'm picking that up. The idea that kind of like Genesis of the Daleks, but more so, the Doctor is why Cybermen eventually become the way they are because
basically
of
directly
his,
responsible for
it's
it.
his fault.
Yeah, it's his template because they scanned him and realized that was the. In fact, I give that situation credit for the reason why they advanced so quickly.
I agreed. And going up along the story, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Well, maybe not fun's the right word, but I really liked it. Plus, it's Cybermen. And then it got to that point, and it just blew my mind.
Were you fooled? Did you think that the Cyberman comes out? And did you think that for a moment that was the Doctor, and we're going to have like this Locutus of
I
Borg?
thought for a minute he was in
We're gonna have
disguise.
to okay.
Oh,
Like, I
I've seen
totally
that.
thought that he went and clubbed somebody over the head and had put on the helmet and walked out and was all giving I'm going to give you the funny voice. Ha, 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 ha. But it was the other person laughing.
Yeah.
And then that was when I was concerned. It was like, oh. Well, now, wait a minute, because I know... And then he showed up, so I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
So much awesome.
I got so excited about this. I went and did the trifecta. I went back and watched Attack of the Cybermen because I love the idea that's put forth here that both Spare Parts and Attack of the Cybermen are prequel stories to the 10th Planet in such a way that in Attack of the Cybermen, the Cybermen have gone back and they're using Telos as a base in order to prevent the destruction of Mondos. And I absolutely love that idea. And it just feels like to me, it feels like that's just a trilogy of stories there that really work together.
Yeah.
For some of the faults that Attack of the Cybermen has, and there's not many, because I've always enjoyed that story and thought they did a really good job, and it's an enjoyable Sixth Doctor story, but for what faults it does have, it's still it's this nice little round trilogy piece that I just kind of always put together in my head. That this is just different elements of the same thing. So,
You know, one thing that this and 10th Planet kind of gives me issue with? The oddly tomb of the Cybermen. If they're converted so they can survive on the surface and it's so cold, how are you freezing them?
how or why?
How? If they can survive any temperature, how are you able to freeze them?
You're just turning them off.
Well, I would buy that if they didn't talk about, this is the frozen tombs of the Cybermen and we have to thaw them out to get them out. And the fact that they put them back in because...
Why do you need to freeze them? Is that what you're...
How? How can you? If they can withstand any
Oh, I
temperature,
see.
how are they able to be
If they're
frozen?
working on the outside of that dome and...
Yeah.
Well, did they say they can withstand any temperature?
Pretty much. Well, that was the collective
I get the impression...
reason for converting
I give the
everybody.
impression that
maybe they were higher thinking.
They can survive out there longer than a human, but maybe that point...
Oh, wait, you're right, because isn't there a line about the reason that you need to fix the dome or turn on the engines or something instead of starting the cyber conversion is because you have the entire planet population converted, but they'll be buried under the glacier? Wasn't there a line in there about that? Okay.
I just thought that was more of they'll be buried instead of frozen.
Well, I think it's a glacier. I think.
Well, see, maybe
they're going to be buried.
Maybe I'm just really trying to fix this in my own head, but I never got the impression that they could work in any climate, any temperature or anything. I got the impression that they were better suited to work outside the dome than the humans, and so that was the point of the conversion.
Even more,
but you could probably get them to a point where they would, the mechanics of them, both biological and mechanical would shut down at a certain point so that they could be preserved. And
Okay.
that's the impression that I get, and that's why it still works for me.
I'll buy that. I thought of it because after watching all the bonus features on 10th Planet, I popped in the special edition of Tomb of the Cybermen, and there's a extended edition look back at the history of the Cybermen, and I thought after listening to those, I watched that, and he talked about them being frozen underneath there. I was like, well, wait a minute.
Because
but your explanation will work for me.
They even make their initial attack on Earth and at one of the polar ice caps.
Hand wave at the
where that base is because it's cold, and so they're going to work better in that environment. It's the impression that I got. Well, that's why I say I think that the polar ice cap there is probably what they would have experienced on the surface of Mondos anywhere, because of the fact that they're so far away from there on the sun.
So just the individual cells of the tomb are just that much colder.
That much colder. Okay. That's the impression I got. Yeah,
I'll buy that for $1.
Or that's the way I'm going to fix it in my head. So that's my head canon.
That's fine by me. It's been a while since I've watched Tomb.
So well, I haven't seen Tomb since we watched it. So
I've watched it like twice since then. So
well, there you go.
You really like Tomb.
And then I went and bought Special Edition.
I like that the Cybermats are in this too.
Yeah.
And lots of them. Hordes of Cybermats.
And the fact that one gets into the TARDIS.
Yes. Yeah, and burns itself out on the console.
And then they're all swarming all over it.
Yeah,
and
which is great because Nissa employs the idea of, well, this one got fried out by the power circuit, so can we reverse that and send that outside?
Yeah.
And what a great idea how to
reversing the polarity.
He gave Nissa such. See, Nissa has such great moments in this. I thoroughly enjoy her in this as well.
Did anybody get a creepy vibe off the Hartley family at the beginning? Like, she shows up and, it's Christmas time and you can help us put up the decorations and have some of our rations, and then we're going to kill you in the basement later. Like, I was expecting a Texas Chainsaw Massacre moment. Like, they were going to harvest her for organs or something.
We're going to turn you into the Cybermen.
Well, not necessarily on that front, because they seem to be pretty anti-Cybermen. But I thought maybe they were going to be, we're going to sell her to the organ harvester. Especially when Frank makes that crack at Dad about, you sold Mom. Which I didn't get until later. Yeah. That she died.
Right.
That she died a natural birth, and then he went and did sell her for spare parts to get money. I didn't quite get that initially. I was kind of thinking that maybe he did sell her before she passed, which would have been creepy. But yeah, the whole time, and Nissa even kind of kept going, "I'm allowed to leave, right? Sure, it's not safe right now." And I'm going, ooh, something's wrong.
See, I never got that vibe at all.
It just something about it really creeped me out initially.
No, I felt they were very warm and welcoming the whole time for me as far as listening goes.
Really?
So I didn't have it. You watch too many horror movies.
I don't watch any horror movies.
No, you really don't. That's
probably the problem. I've seen this one. No, I haven't.
These guys were way too subtle.
You got a real pretty mouth. I had a question for you when you talked about this being the first one that you listened to, and I flew out of my head in the course of all this presentation or something, like when you popped it in and the audio came up and the theme and it just kind of went. Were you at all prepared for that?
No,
that was the format.
No, I had no idea.
You were listening to an
In
actual
fact, I think
story.
Even when I popped it in, I don't think I got audio play. I got audio story out of it. I said audio play earlier, but so I think I expected somebody to be reading like a book on tape.
Like a book on tape, yeah.
And so when it jumps right in, and that was what totally hooked me on Big Finish, was the fact that this is just like an episode of Doctor Who. It's all audio, but it's formatted in such a way that this totally could be a television episode. And that just washed over me. I was blown away by that idea, by that concept. That we don't have audio plays over here. That's more of a common thing over in Britain. We have books on tape, but we don't have or audio books. We don't have audio plays.
Is that something that... And I find when I talk to other people about Big Finish that don't know about Big Finish, it's almost hard to describe. I think I know what I'm talking about, but then they look at me like...
I think it helps that you also are kind of more familiar with the idea just from War of the Worlds. And not as many people have been exposed to War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay, maybe.
My only other experience with audio plays is War of the Worlds and the Star Wars radio version, which is an audio play as well.
Yeah.
So... I think I'd heard something else on NPR years and years and years ago that was audio play. I was very limited on my experience with it. No, I've heard the audio version, the radio versions of Hitchhikers since I've listened to Big Finish. I knew they existed, but I wouldn't know in what form.
Maybe it's because
I knew of them, but
maybe you're right. Maybe it's because through War of the Worlds that I've been exposed to more radio broadcasting, like The Shadow and stuff that was it's a radio show. It's just it's composed for radio.
I think that's the difference. Is America switched to music, where more British and
Yeah.
Britain continued the trend where we just kind of stopped.
I just find when I'm pitching Big Finish to somebody who doesn't know what it's about that I really struggle, and I'm trying to explain. Well, it's it's got a story and sound effects, and it's like watching Doctor Who, but you're not watching it, you're listening to it, and they kind of look at me like, and inevitably they go and they listen to it, and they come back and go, wow, that was really cool. So but yeah, I was curious to know if because how old were you if you were here? So you had to have been older. You weren't like a kid.
Oh,
when
this
you
has only been, been 10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. We were living at the other house. We've been in this one 5.
It could only
we were
be
there
10
for
years
5.
ago.
So
Barely.
yeah.
It came out.
When did this one come out?
July 2002.
Yeah. So
So
it was
must have been
probably not long
pretty new
after
release.
Oh, who wrote the question? What was the question about if this
that. Well,
impacted the other?
if this says anything, when I listened to this one, what number is this one?
30-something.
Okay.
30.
There were only 44 Big Finish audios available when I heard this one, because as soon as I heard this one, I went searching for more, knowing that I wasn't going to be able to order CDs. I was really ecstatic that they were available as MP3 downloads as well, and I could get those. So
I'm trying to jump forward to.
there were 40 in existence.
10 years ago,
Yeah.
there were MP3 downloads.
Yeah, they're absolutely. Yeah, they were available in MP3
That
format.
seems like such a new thing. I don't know. My brains. No, what was the question that Chrissy, I think, had about what if this was influenced by the other? If spare parts had something to do, there's something that had influenced it in the way that it came out. And I was trying to think of when this was released. But if it was 2002, I think that puts it off the...
Question real quick.
I don't remember what
Here's
she asked
another
now.
thing that I wanted to address, and maybe this is along the same lines, is when Dalek came out, the Christopher Eccleston story in season 1, or series 1. When it came out, everybody, the internet exploded with, well, this is essentially an adaptation of Jubilee, which is a Dalek story in the Big Finish audio range that came before Dalek. And I gave them the benefit of the doubt on that, because I thought... I'd never heard Jubilee, and I thought, okay, maybe it is, and they've just kind of reimagined it. And then when Rise of the Cybermen, Age of Steel and the Rise of the Cybermen came out, the internet exploded again, and they kept saying, oh, they've done it again. They adapted spare parts into this.
No.
And I thought, whoa, wait a minute. Those are two totally different things. I mean, they're only thing that's realized the same is the fact that...
It's a Cyberman origin story,
yeah,
but
and that society was on its way to being completely,
Which is
cyber converted.
Just telling the story of the Cybermen, and again.
And so now it makes me want to go back and listen to Jubilee, and I was so upset with. I was like, how could you even compare the two? And any more of the fact that they were just, like you said, two Cybermen origin stories. And it just, they kept making it sound like they completely borrowed this idea. They completely borrowed this idea.
I don't get that at all.
So now I'm thinking when I finally listen to Jubilee, I probably will go, yeah, you guys were way off base on that one as well.
Well, fandom and their gut reaction.
Yeah, that's true.
Are you referring to the Yvonne link?
Oh,
the Yvonne Hartley. Yeah, so that wouldn't have been it unless it's the reverse that they.
Well, this came out first,
right? This came out first, and then the other.
Wrote, I think that is the connection. Maybe the other way.
But they
the
wrote
person
Yvonne
that wrote
Hartley
referencing.
too. Well, because that was RTD that wrote the two-parter. So
that makes sense. So, Big Finish number 40 would have came out in January 2003.
Now, see, I say 10 years ago, somewhere between 10 and 6 years ago, probably. So, because 40 of them would have been out by then.
Yeah, who knows?
That's 12 a year, because they were once a month. So, they started in 2001, releasing the Big Finish line.
I'm not.
So it would have been about 2004 or 5 by the time that I finally got this one. So it was probably right before the new series came out.
Well, and who knows how long it took them to get the big MP3s available.
Well, that's true.
They were probably going through and doing the back catalog of MP3s and then catching up.
So it was probably more like 6-7 years ago.
could have been.
Actually, the
you were living at
the first Big Finish came out in 1999.
The townhouse over there with Carrie at the time. I remember that because that's when I was getting back into Doctor Who because I kept borrowing your VHSs. So it was around that time.
My actual house.
Yeah.
Is that the... Well... Yeah, that would have been about 2003 because that's where I met him there.
So around 2003, 2004 is when I picked up on
Yeah,
it.
that seems about right.
And you didn't share.
I'm sure I told you about it and said you need to listen to it sometime. You've been busy all your life, so I'm sure you were just, I'll get to it around to it sometime.
It was before stroke. I don't know. That story is BS.
All right, well, what else? Do you guys got anything else you want to say about spare parts?
There's a part of me now that kind of wishes we had gone ahead and rewatched Attack of the Cybermen and thrown it in just for giggles. But
Yeah. I did, and I thought, well...
I wanted to kind of get to it since
nice.
I own it, but I didn't. But the bonus feature on Tomb of the Cybermen also talked about Attack is the first time we actually see a conversion on camera.
Really? It goes
Yeah.
all the way up to Attack before it happens?
Or a partial conversion or anything.
Right.
Yeah.
But or the conversion process, I guess.
Because, what's his name, Dighton? Litton
is converted, yeah.
Well, partially converted.
Yeah. Which I didn't realize that. I thought that was really interesting. So there's your Cyberman trivia.
He should get some sort of award for being the first part Dalek, first part Cyberman. He ran around with that helmet thing with the eye stalk on it, and I thought for sure they had messed with his brain, but apparently not.
All right,
I'm just glad that we did these two together. Right?
Yeah.
Like I said,
This was the perfect pairing.
I think that they complement each other so well.
really
Obviously, retroactively on Spare Parts' part, but I think it does elevate 10th Planet. And if nothing else, 10th Planet is
I don't think
important.
Spare Parts would have paired as well with any of the other Cyberman stories.
You say retroactively, but it's almost...
It's purposely done.
Well, but I mean, just from the standpoint, the 10th Planet by itself doesn't do anything.
Right.
But then you put Spare Parts on top of it, and it
Elevates
retroactively
10th Planet, yeah.
elevates it.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I think 10th Planet is historically important for Who. That even if you don't enjoy the story or the character or the things just the fact that it is the first appearance of the Cybermen, it is the first regeneration, it is, I mean, there's a lot of Whovian history that you have to respect First Planet for having.
Right.
Or 10th Planet for having. Yep. So, there's that.
You got the schedule ready there, Sean?
I do.
Terrific. What's coming up?
Well, next week for Friday Night Who on Friday the 13th is Nothing Scary at All. It's The Long Game with Christopher Eccleston.
A little scary.
And you figured out why we're...
You said that.
The best tweet or the best text message ever. And this message from Glenn. Why are we doing The Long Game for Friday Night Who?
And I was in the process of responding.
And then immediately, oh, never mind. I know why.
Wait a second. You had said there was a reason last week when you talked about it on the schedule. And then we got through most of this week, and I had just finished reading the dang comic book. And I went, what? And then I was like, what are we doing? Well, I think I went to my schedule to make sure I had everything caught up with what I was supposed to do for the week. And I went, looked at your schedule, and I went, why are we doing the long game for this week? And I remembered you saying, well, for the obvious, and I had just read the 12th issue, and it had Autons in it, and I went, he's not thinking the Jaggerfest was a nesting consciousness, was he? What on earth would he be linking these? And so then that's why I text that, and then it dawned on me, oh yeah, Adam's in that too. Anyway,
that's why. So we're gonna watch Adam get kicked off the boat, and then we're gonna turn around in our episode and review Prisoners of Time 11 and 12, and see what happens to poor Adam afterwards. And there's that. And we will also cover Doctor Who Revisited 11. And I know Glenn's review is going to be short and sweet, maybe not so sweet on that. So
here's my review. It was there.
It was there. I also decided that this is probably a pattern that I'm going to follow, I think, in the years to come. I like the idea that we do some new Who stories as we lead up to Christmas, because I know all of you are busy buying gifts for everybody else in your lives. And so if you're watching something you already own, it's a heck of a lot easier to not have to worry about it. So look forward to that in December from now on.
For your Christmas gifts.
Yeah, but if you have Hulu Plus.
Or maybe you're saving up to get Hulu Plus.
If anybody tries to Friday Night Who with Hulu Plus, you're going to get behind, because sometimes there's up to 2 or 3 ads in the middle of, 2 to 3 ads in one break. So the following week will be our Christmas, which is The Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe with Matt Smith.
Our show the following week will be the Big Finish Destiny of the Doctor, the Time Machine, and our 50th anniversary discussion of the 11th Doctor era to kind of wrap things up with Matt Smith, which seems a little weird that we'll be doing a 50th anniversary wrap-up before we see the end of the 50th and the end of the 11th.
I almost think it's appropriate because we'll have done our wrap-up of everything up to that point, and then we'll review that final one.
But what if the Time of the Doctor is the quintessential episode? Nobody gets a vote for it.
It won't be.
Oh, you don't think it will?
I can tell you now, it won't be.
The most quintessential episode. He left. That's the one that...
But it is the most quintessential episode because Peter Capaldi plays the Doctor. I'm excited.
It'll be the most quintessential Peter Capaldi story.
What?
It'll be the most quintessential Peter Capaldi
Yes, it
story.
will. Up to that point.
Up to that point. And
Well,
Glenn,
there's only been two. There will only have been two at that point. So.
Glenn will get the poll.
What? There are two.
Yeah,
There will be
as
two.
much as he's going to be in the Christmas episode, yeah.
Well, I'm sure he'll be in the Christmas episode
that's
more
true.
than
I don't know.
he was in Day of the Doctor.
I kind of have to give it to the other one now because he played a pretty quintessential role in Saving Gallifrey,
No, that's
showing
true.
up there at the
Yeah,
last
there
minute,
you go.
and they wouldn't have done it without him.
We just
so.
thought we couldn't use Day anyway because everybody shows up and then that was disqualified. So
It's true.
You'll get the poll up sometime soon, since we're down to 2 weeks.
since it takes me an hour and a half to put it up, but
Cut and paste.
it's a lot of stuff. Can we figure out you're an administrator now? You can do that.
Can
Now you got too much on your plate already.
we? Yeah. Well, hopefully this week will get better. But
His
When
school's
Keith
done.
comes back on Thursday, I'll have more downtime at work.
and then we wrap things up on the 27th with the Fires of Pompeii. To
Wait,
with
why
David
are we
Tennant
watching Fires?
because it's
I
got
know, I'm just kidding.
Capaldi in it as our warm up. That episode's red hot for Time of the Doctor and Christmas.
That'll work out really good, especially since 11 will have to go back and steal his body. So that'll kind of pair up really nice.
Yeah. They better explain it.
I don't
No, they're not.
subscribe to the handy doctor theory.
They haven't in the past.
They
They've
haven't,
used
yeah.
actors,
It's-
previous doctors, and we've already done
Yeah,
the doctor.
I don't
before.
understand why everybody's going on and on about that. Oh, there's a reason that he looks like Peter Capaldi. Yeah, there's a reason he looks like Peter Capaldi. Because
That's
Peter
'cause-
Capaldi was in the show before. There's no mystery here,
'Cause
guys.
it's the
He's not
same
going to
actor.
steal
That's
his
'cause
body.
Moffat's trolling fandom.
He's not going to steal his body a la the Master. Come on.
He has to. He's on his last.
That's why
he
he's
can't
got to go
regenerate.
find Gallifrey.
I
gonna
told
eat
you
these
last
words
week.
in 3 weeks,
I
aren't I?
told you last week. That's my theory.
What?
I'm going to eat these words in 3 weeks, aren't I?
Matt Smith's Doctor is actually the 13th Doctor, and there are no more. There's no more regenerations
Ever.
ever.
Show's done.
Show's done.
Pack it in.
No, it's not done. They have to use the master device, and he'll have to steal a body.
Here's my
That
problem
is
with
so
it.
not going to happen.
Here's my problem with that. For all you people that think you have this figured out and it makes sense and blah, blah, blah. Now, here's my problem with that. The man who was this tortured about blowing up all of Gallifrey and the Daleks in the Time War is not going to stoop to the level of stealing a body. It's just not going to happen.
Well, having not seen those stories, I don't know. Could the body be freshly dead?
He blowed himself up to save a woman he didn't know in Night of the Doctor. Come on.
Yeah, but now he has a chance to save his planet.
Eh.
Okay.
Yeah, planet's safe.
It's
off in
safe,
some little
yeah.
pocket universe.
Besides, technically, at this point, you could pull a Bill and Ted with the logic because he's met his older regeneration who knew all this, so he knows it turns out okay. Why do I have to be the one to do it? Let the next guy deal with it. I'm just going to die and regenerate and let somebody else worry about it.
That's
What
true.
if you don't die and regenerate? Well, obviously it happened. I don't have to be the one to do it. So there's that.
All right. Well, if that's going to do it for this week, until next
Remember
week,
a trash can.
I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
Remember
I'm
keys.
Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing you.
Thanks for being patient and waiting on me to finish up with school because it sucked. It was long. It was a test. I failed. Hardcore. I don't even think it was a little failure. I think it was pretty much a, oh, why did you even bother showing up kind of failure. It was a, wow, that's 1 hour out of my life that I really am not going to get back. Toppled with the entire semester of what I'm not going to get back. It was that kind of epic fail. You know, you see things on the internet about epic fail and somebody pointing a finger.
Worse than the French?
Oh, oh, oh.
Even did that as a freshman.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.